Oh yeah, that's it. You just tuned in to the Digital Cartridge Podcast with Sean and Micah. Listen up as they deliver you the most epic show covering movies, television, video games, and wrestling. And now, here's Sean and Micah.
Hey, Micah.
Yeah.
What happened to the magical tractor?
It got plowed.
It turned into a...
My answer was better.
Wah, wah.
My answer was so much better.
I know. You want another one?
Yeah.
This is bad. A horse walks into a bar and the bartender says, "Why the long face?"
Oh. It's because it's a horse, right?
The horse says, "I'm finally realizing that my alcoholism is driving my family apart." That one was horrible.
That was awful. That was worse than the tractor.
One more. How many kids with ADD does it take to change a light bulb?
Squirrel! No.
Let's go ride bikes.
Yeah.
This is the Digital Cartridge Podcast, and those were shitty-ass jokes. And I'm Sean. You're the same motherfucker you get every damn 2 weeks.
Hey, guys. I'm Micah.
Yeah, Micah, that guy over there.
Yeah.
So you're here for some ToeJam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. Yeah, all right. We'll talk about that shortly, but as usual, we got to get into some other things. And I mean, obviously we're recording today on Super Bowl Sunday, which is, it's cool because I do like football, but neither one of these teams are kind of like my whole thing. So I have friends that are 49ers fans and I have friends that are Chiefs fans. So I mean, good luck for either one that ran it, but we got some more important stuff called record a podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, the commercials aren't what they used to be either, so it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, I thought, honestly, the Jason Momoa commercial was the most hilarious one where he pulled off, his arms and made himself small and then, pulled off his hair and it was bald and couldn't even lift, a 25-pound, weight bar. And I was just, that's funny, but, I mean, they're whack. I mean.
The Boston one was really good, too, the car commercial one.
Yeah, but I mean, they spoiled that one throughout the week. So, I mean, we already knew which one was coming, kind of like the whole Bryan Cranston and the Mountain Dew commercial, which was The Shining, which was good. But, I mean, if you're spoiling them before the Super Bowl, it kind of takes the whole, the fun out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, like I said, it's not what it used to be. It used to be they spent a ton of money on them, and now, it's gotten to the point they almost go, too cheesy because they know it's going to be Super Bowl commercial cheesy.
I mean, what is it, $5 million just for a commercial spot, though?
Yeah, it's something stupid, even for a 30-second spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculously expensive, and I mean, some of them are dumb. I mean, there was a whole yogurt commercial about bubble butt, bubble butt. And I was thinking, this is remember how we talked about Idiocracy and the world becoming dumber and dumber? This is moving towards it. I mean, you see these type of commercials and you're like, ow, my balls. That's all you can think about.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I saw you got a new smoker over the weekend. Did you get to fire that bad boy up today?
I about fucked up too. So I've literally consumed nothing but alcohol today and smoked some meat.
Well, I mean, that's going to be an interesting podcast later. Nothing but alcohol and Micah.
And I'm still going. I got it for Christmas. Ashley got it for me for Christmas. It's a Pit Boss smoker. So it's got the auger on the side that does the little wood pellets, and you dump them in there, and then it just constantly fills it in. And it's electric too, so you don't have to worry about propane or anything like that. Essentially, all it does is it's got a little igniter in the bottom that gets real hot, like a little port, and that'll spark the wood. And then once the wood's burning, the auger just continuously feeds it off from the side. And then
nice.
I smoked the ribs. I smoked for right at six hours. And then I did some chicken drumsticks for right at about 3.5 hours. And it was all killer.
That's what's up. I mean, I baked some wings in the oven. I mean, apartment life, there's only so much you can do. But when I went to Kroger earlier, there's a dude out there that had some ribs out there on the grill. And I was like, being from Memphis, kind of being that barbecue snob, like buying somebody else's ribs, like that, just randomly in front of a Kroger, I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it,
The thing I like about this is because I've got a grill, like I've got a propane grill that I use a lot since we moved here, but this can essentially work as a grill as well because it's got a panel where I can have direct or indirect heat. So if I want to cook steaks or pizzas or pretty much anything I want to cook on it, I can.
That's what's up. I mean, I know whenever we get a place, or I want to get one of those big green egg smokers, just because. But I know they make a knockoff one, which is just as good and like a fraction of the price, so I'll probably be using that.
Yeah, those things are nice. They're expensive as fuck, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said, there's a knockoff one that's literally, I think, like a quarter or like maybe half the price of them. So, I mean, it makes it more desirable. When I worked at that bar downtown Memphis called Silky O'Sullivan's, the owner there, somebody gave her one of those big green eggs, and we had it there on site, and she wanted it moved to her house. And it took like 3 of us to pick this thing up and put it in the back of a truck. And I was like, I would just hate to imagine to drop that big old ceramic thing and get it cracked, crack an egg like Humpty Dumpty.
We had a guy, my last dealership I worked at, we busted one out. So we were doing a giveaway, and we had 2 of them. And the first one we were going to keep and use it, and like we would grill lunch for the staff on the weekends, and he didn't hinge the top of it right, threw the lid open, and it just fell all the way back and cracked it in half.
Oh man, I bet that broke his heart.
I mean, it was a stupid ass salesman, so he could have gave 2 fucks less.
Yeah, I mean, he'll just have to sell some more cars, to make up for that one.
We still cooked on it. It just used it like a grill instead of a fucking smoker, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, it's just honestly just a giant grill that's really expensive and too much for what it's worth,
100%.
But I mean, that's all that's been up with you this week, man? I know it's I feel like 2 weeks sometimes, like we miss a lot from each other, but I mean, we talk 8 hours a day at least,
Yeah, I mean, not a lot, just work. People have been sick, wife and the kids have been sick, so I just back and forth to work. That's about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you pretty much got the whole coronavirus at your house, minus the actual corona part.
Yeah, and luckily, like, I didn't have any issues on my end. Like, I didn't feel good for a couple of days, but I just kind of powered through it. I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I've been going through a whole life-changing, like, a male is supposed to consume like 30 grams of fiber a day. So I've been like, I know I don't ever, really consume that. So I was like, man, I need to take this path, like better myself. We're only getting older, we got to do better as it is. And so I've been pushing through this like 30 grams of fiber a day thing. It's been a fun journey, but it's been a painful and interesting journey at the same time. So if anybody eats a whole lot of fiber every day, they know what I'm talking about. It's very different lately.
Yeah, you should have bought some stock and some Charmin.
Man, it's all about, you got to have some wet wipes too, man. It's wet wipes, and then you use the dry for the,
There is there's an account that I follow on Instagram. It's called Hello Tushy, TUSHY, Hello Tushy.
Okay.
And it's a bidet that you can go in and you can add it to any toilet. Like that's their claim to fame and their patent is that it's this bidet that attaches to the water and it can be added to any residential toilet. But their marketing's the best. They have T-shirts. And when you go in and you can order their T-shirt, it says, "Ask me about my asshole."
It's funny you talked about bidets. I just watched the movie Get 'Em to the Greek, only because that whole African Child and all those songs are like stuck on my iPhone. It's probably the only album I think I ever bought on iTunes. And so whenever I crank up, my car to leave somewhere, like it's the first thing that the Bluetooth picks up before I, switch over to Pandora. So I was like, I saw it on Netflix and I haven't seen Get 'Em to the Greek. And I forgot this one scene where he basically breaks up with his girlfriend and him and Out of Snow are in the club and he's up with this chick and she's in there banging him on top of the toilet. And he's like, my ass is getting wet. And I didn't pay attention. She's literally pulling the handle for the bidet like the whole time she's riding, dude. And I was just like, oh, bidets. I was like, now the scene makes sense. Like the first time I ever watched it, I never really paid attention because the only thing I ever remember is, about rubbing the furry walls.
I think I've seen that movie once, like a long time ago.
Going back and watching it again, honestly, Puff Daddy, or whatever you call him, Diddy or Sean Combs or however he goes by this day. He plays the role of Sergio in that film, but he plays a really good comedic role in that because he plays like the asshole boss at the same time. And it was honestly enjoyable to watch it, but I watched the whole movie like in 3 parts. I mean, that's the luxury, of Netflix, just turning off the TV and going back to it, and picking up where you left off.
Have you done anything else in 2 weeks worth mentioning?
Man, not really. Other than getting ready to go out of town in the next couple of weeks, for a nice little vacay, other than really just spending money buying clothes has been the biggest thing, and I've been trying to get back to possibly streaming more, on the whole Facebook gaming or going back to Twitch a little. I want to, help promote our page a little, obviously, with a podcast that revolves around movies. And I figure if we're at least playing the game, we need to show some people that might know about it. And, my favorite hashtag for me gaming is Sean sucks at games. I might like games, but I never find myself just excellent at it. I mean, there's some games that I'm good at, but it's far and in between.
Oh, speaking of excellent, it's almost time for season 2 of Call of Duty, so we're gonna have to get you on that train.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is I like the new Call of Duty, but I don't like it. I don't know if I'm just my reaction times are getting worse, the older I get or whatnot, or if, since we've actually been picking up this whole podcast, hopping down this nostalgia train, I just get stuck on it more. I'll definitely, hop back in that, game with the boys.
It's a good time.
Battlemania.
You ready to talk about how I got destroyed?
Yeah. I mean, this next one I don't know, because, I saw your pick, and I almost picked it. I really did, but I was nice, and though I did get first choice.
The only reason I did it is because of the cross promotion.
Man, I saw it and I was like, I could do his Battlemania. I could steal his and make him pick another, but I was like, it is what it is.
I mean, you can. I've got backup.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with my main pick. I mean, it was a toss up between the two. I mean, both are favorites, so both are very memorable as well.
I guess for anybody that has no idea what the fuck we're talking about, Battlemania is a recurring poll that we pit 2 different things against each other. We've transitioned to where we're doing movies, so we have a randomly generated genre of movies and time frame in those movies for us every episode. Last time it was 90s horror movie. And Sean won, so you get to tell everybody what you won with.
So I picked Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I mean, I'm a Freddy Krueger fan. I always have been. I mean, if you listen to the last episode, I talked about kind of nightmare, just in, Freddy Krueger's in my nightmares at, young age. So it's funny how the nightmare kind of just kept going with me and followed this. And, with this win, this is obviously the movie that we're going to pick for our next movie episode, which ironically is the episode after this one, and we get a guest host for this one, which he's kind of a horror fanatic, so I think it's going to help out even more because everybody likes guest hosts, right?
I do. So I chose The Faculty, and it got destroyed. It was really funny though. So we had a total of 287 votes, and you won with
that's a lot.
185 of those. But the funniest part was I was beating you pretty handedly, and then it fucking shifted within 4 hours, and I was like, holy shit, I'm getting destroyed.
I joined a couple, horror groups, not, like Freddy Krueger groups. I generally joined 80s, 90s horror fan groups, and I was like, hey, here's a, horror poll, vote for it. And it just, haywire.
Yeah, it ended up being 64% to 36%. So it wasn't a complete landslide, because I still got 100 of the votes, but you still won.
I mean, the way I look at it, we don't delete these entries, once, we could hit this randomizer again and it could say, 90s horror films, and you could pick The Faculty again and probably, crush it.
I'm just going to keep picking it till it wins.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it reminds me of the old music polls when we very first started off, how we were talking about, we were just going to keep reusing the same old, and then we're like, no, we're going to have to pick something else because it's not always going to work. But now, with the movie poll, you could honestly pick up what you used last time and it could rush it.
I'm going to resurrect Usher Raymond's career with my movie pick, by God.
It's a good one. I can like literally look and like just remind myself of scenes, left and right, obviously. So I mean, it's a very
funny would
memorable
it
movie.
be
Some people like it. But I
only picked Usher movies. I just didn't tell you. Like, that was my through line, is like, I only picked movies he's in.
Not to try to go off topic, but when I lived in Atlanta for a very short stint back in 2015, and I had all my stuff in a storage unit, and when we was checking out, I was trying not to be nosy, but the lady in front of me, I noticed her name was Tamika Raymond, and I was like, I know that name, and it was Usher's wife, and so bad, it took all I could for me not to say if she got it bad. Not trying, not trying to, hurt Usher, on the whole like herpes or whatever STD thing that he had at the same time too. But, also trying to mimic the whole song,
Yeah, you should have asked her, is it 7 o'clock? Shouldn't you be in your drop top?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So,
tell everybody what you're picking for, or I guess you could tell since you won, you can tell everybody the genre too.
The genre. So we picked this one. We ended up with 2000 actions movie. We could honestly go 2000 on, but we're stuck in 10-year time frame. So it's 2000 2010. So 2000s was an amazing time for action films. I mean, we got some fucking epic movies coming through through this timeline. And like I was talking about earlier, I said, Mike, I saw your pick, and I was like, ooh, I really wanted to pick that one, but like I have to remember like one of the most iconic action movies I thought of for the whole 2000s was The Dark Knight. I mean, the whole Joker scene with that killed it, and obviously, Christopher Nolan, it's an epic, storyline, and it's a 2008 film, so we're in there, and you just got to go with it. So, Micah, what's your pick on this for the battle?
So I actually went with the original Fast and the Furious.
Man, the longest saga that's ever running now.
Yeah, but so my thing was like, it's got a lot of hype right now because they just released a trailer for number 9. But I
for sure,
legitimately, like the first one and the second one, like those two, I've seen so many times. So we've talked about how like we would sit up and we had the PlayStation sit up and play SOCOM 2 like at my cousin's house, and that's all we did. Like that was what we would turn on a computer to have playing in the background was Fast and Furious 1 or Fast and Furious 2, like on repeat. So those have
I want to say my repeat.
Those have a tender spot for me.
My repeat in that time was probably Gone in 60 Seconds. I was a street racer during the time, so I mean, obviously Fast and Furious was very big to me, but like I kind of like we disliked that in a way because the whole like the street scene was changed after that movie. But Gone in 60 Seconds, when they basically robbed the Porsche store and we're driving in that 2000 Honda Civic Si, like that was like an iconic car for me because obviously I think that movie came out right in 2000, and that was honestly, we would rewatch that one scene there probably all day long every day just because. But I mean, that's a good one, but it's okay. It's not great, but obviously Fast and Furious is great. I wanted that damn Jetta in that damn movie so bad when that movie came out, even though the Supra was
yeah, like Gone in 60 Seconds is like, it's up there for me too, and I honestly considered it, but just because of the fact that we watched it so many times back in the day, like I just had to go with it.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that's just me. Like I'm a comic book fan, so all these comic book action films fit a little bit closer to me. I mean, Iron Man was a close pick for me. The Spider-Mans were a close pick, but I mean, honestly, The Dark Knight was like, it was a crusher.
Yeah, because when we get back around to 2000s actions, and you got Spider-Man 2 in there. I mean, you got tons of shit.
Oh, I mean, you got tons of Rex in there too. But I mean, you also had the whole Bill series. I mean, there's just all kinds of shit that was in 2000 actions that were, I'm sorry, they're freaking amazing.
Indeed. So Battlemania will drop on Wednesday. The episodes always drop on Tuesday. And as we talked about a little bit earlier and mentioned in previous episodes, now that we've converted over to using this format to choose what our movie episodes are going to cover, and you can see that directly with the next episode because we're doing New Nightmare, you get to influence what movie we are going to cover by choosing what movie you like in the post. So if you'd rather see us cover Dark Knight, or if you would rather see us cover the original Fast and Furious, vote on the poll when it drops and let us know. And then if you have a suggestion for a movie for the 2000s actions for when it comes back around, drop that in the comments and let us know too.
Hey, meet me over by the water cooler. So, what's up? I gotta fill you in on what I've been watching. Oh, jeez. This may contain spoilers.
Did you see that really awesome Rick and Morty commercial that was on the Super Bowl?
Was it a Pringles one? I caught the tail end of it.
It was the Pringles one. I even shared it to our page. Like, it had me cracking up.
I was trying to clean up the grill or the smoker, and I caught the very, very tail end of it.
You know, and I saw it, man, and I went to Kroger earlier today, and I was like, man, why didn't I try to find the whole Rick and Morty Pringles? I'll find them eventually.
I'm still on a hardcore Brooklyn Nine-Nine kick, like we talked about last episode. I'm still pushing my way through it.
How far you gotten through that, baby?
Halfway through season 4, almost to season 5.
Yeah, are you still loving it?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I like how they call back and do recurring like shows or recurring things, like they cover stuff like the Halloween heist episodes are probably my favorite.
oh, for sure, they're great. I mean, it just watching that series just reminds me just how good Andy Samberg is with his comedy, and the whole Lonely Island group just as a whole, but just him as the way he brings it together. I mean, you didn't think that Andy Samberg on a network TV show would have been this freaking good though.
No, and it's a really good just turn on and 30-minute comedy burner. So it's something I like. I'm glad like reading more into it. Like I guess at one point it got canceled and then got picked back up from what and
it's not even like like our fan base that helped bring it back up. It was like major actors retweeted when this got canceled, and like I want to say it was like 24 hours. Like that's when it got picked back up and just back on the run again.
Another 30-minute comedy that just ended. It had its series finale that I watched last week was The Good Place with Ted Danson and Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
It was really good, and it put the finale, like if you go through, so Kyle, our buddy Kyle from Experience Crime Podcast had actually told me.
Oh yeah, I know those guys.
He actually told me to start watching this one, so I binged through like the first couple seasons or whatever, and I got caught up to where the last season was the current season that just dropped, and it put a good twist on it, and I think I hit it at a really good point where I was binging through it a lot just to be able to catch up, kind of like I'm doing with Brooklyn Nine-Nine and with The Office for that matter. So the story seems more concise and more coherent for me, because waiting on some of their episodes felt like it took a long time. Like the 30-minute comedy, waiting on 30-minute comedy episodes can suck a little bit.
Oh, most definitely.
We also banged out series finale of The Ranch, which was Ashton Kutcher show on Netflix. So the final episodes of it are uploaded. So if you haven't watched it, it's worth going through and streaming and watching. It's another 30-45 minute comedy, and it's got really good actors in it. Sam Elliott is fucking amazing. Like his dry sense of humor in it is fucking on point the whole show.
I was gonna say that show for a Netflix show is so vulgar though, and I mean, but it's good. And if you really liked that '70s show, it brings back a lot of characters from which I think is very surreal too.
Yeah, and it kind of stalled out whenever that shit happened with homeboy, the curly haired dude, Danny, whatever his name is,
Masterson.
Yeah, whenever he got like fired from the show and they had to write him off, it stalled out for a little bit. Like it kind of hit a lull in the show itself because they wrote him off the show. But then they brought in Dax Shepard, and he filled the hole and played a new character, and it was good. They did a good job with it.
Yeah, I really like Dax Shepard. I think he's a great actor, but his styles look very different. Someone, obviously you're just talking about A Good Place with Chris Bell. Now we're talking about Dax Shepard, and do you even know where they're at? Because I know like their relationship's been on a whole roller coaster ride lately, but I think I understood that they're still okay.
They were on an episode of Brain Games, so I watched Brain Games on Nat Geo because Keegan Keegan Michael Key host it now, and they've changed it to where it's like a competition type show, kind of. And they did a male versus female version of it, and they had Dax versus Kristen Bell.
Okay, that's funny. But I mean, they're one of those couples that a lot of people love. So
yeah, it was funny. It was good. They had the series finale. Series finale of Arrow that just aired with on the CW. So they finished out the Crisis on Infinite Earth thing and then had its finale. And they're already talking about doing a spinoff for the Canaries. So we'll see how that plays out.
I gotcha.
But it put a good ending on it with boy that played Arrow basically had come out and said he was done with the character. And then the only other thing I watched was the season finale of Shameless. And then they've announced that the next season of it, which should drop at the end of this year, will be the final season of it.
what's up? I know I've still been on the whole Lethal Weapon thing, and I'm almost through the end of season 2. So I mean, I didn't really like the way they started off the whole second season. Really, is they started bringing in a guest appearance like every episode, and I was like, this is just that lazy writing. We're like, all right, we don't know what to do, so let's bring in a host here, guest there, and it kind of fell off a little bit, and they kind of got back on a storyline where it's talking about his dad, all this other stuff, and then he's trying to have this relationship with a girl named Molly. So it's starting to pick back up. But honestly, I thought the first season was great, and I felt like they didn't even write it for a second season, and they kind of just did what they were doing. And I'm interested to see how it goes from there, because obviously I don't know how it ends, and I haven't been reading up into it, but I do know I'm still waiting for the whole when Sean William Scott takes over the role, whenever that happened for it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that where they made the switch, or was that season 2 to season 3?
It's got to be season 2 to season 3, because I'm at I think number 17 on the second season, so I know the seasons are a little bit long, but whenever it happens, I guess I'll have an answer then. I mean, people have always seen it because I'm watching reruns as it is, but it's interesting to see how it goes.
Have you been to the movies late?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, the thing is I've got a lot of free time sometimes, so I'm just like, let's catch it. I'll catch a matinee, on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, sometimes at noon or what. And so last week, my birthday, was right after we released the last episode. So I went to go see the movie Underwater. It was hyped up, and I was like, all right, we'll get to see a movie with Kristen Stewart. I haven't seen her in a lot of other stuff, since the whole Twilight series. And obviously they had the whole Charlie's Angels reboot, which I could have gave two shits for. But that movie is basically a crew of aquatic researchers. They get to work into a safety after an earthquake devastates their little subterranean laboratory. It's like 9 miles or 7 miles underwater. But, the crew basically has more to fear than just the ocean itself. There's some crazy-ass monsters down there. I mean, you've got TJ Miller in it, and there's some other good people. The movie has one of the, the most epic flaws or things that always goes, like, the first person to die was a black cast member, and I was like, y'all really did this? I was like, haven't we learned from the past? Kill somebody else off, these days. The movie's good to an extent if you like some kind of like thriller type movies like that, but it was very dry. I mean, even though it was considered like an action drama horror, it was just very, 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 very slow. Caught Bad Boys for Life, which I've liked the whole Bad Boy series. I hate that we had to wait, 18 years for the third one, which is good. But, you get Mike Lowry and Marcus Barnett back. So, I mean, they're back. There's a lot of good throwbacks to, Bad Boys 2. You got a lot of characters that came back, like Reggie, the boyfriend. He's back in it, which I thought was a great, bring back. This movie, it may have got like low scores from some people, but I mean, it was up in an action film for starting off 2020. I thought it was great. Even though it felt, if you've seen Gemini Man, a lot of it felt the same. And obviously, Will Smith's in both films as well.
Did they do a lot of CGI Will Smith, like younger?
No, it was just the storyline. I mean, I don't want to spoil it unless you're ready for it, but I mean, it just felt like the storylines were a lot of the same. I mean, like, damn, I was like, did I really just watch Boys again? But if you've seen both films, you'll kind of get the gist that
I got you.
Then, me, I'm a double feature guy when it comes to, going to see movies in the day. That same night, me and Angelica, we went and got some dinner. I was like, let's go see another movie. I was like, screw it, we got time. So we got to see The Turning, which was this horror film that came out with the chick that played in the new Terminator film. So I was like, all right, let's see what's going on. It's obviously got one of the boys from what's that damn Netflix show that everybody loved? Stranger Things. It's got one of the kids from there. So I mean, you had like, you know, a good cast coming up, but this movie just ends. There was literally no ending. It just instantly, you know, snaps to the credits. And everybody I talked to is like, the book's the same way. That's cool and all, but like, change it up for the movie just a little bit, because basically the title is called The Turning. So they're basically trying to figure out if she's crazy or not, or like, you know, if the house is haunted and all this other stuff, but you don't ever really know, because like I said, the movie just...
So they leave it wide open for a sequel?
Well, I don't know if they left it really open for a sequel, but that's the way the book was. The book just kind of it left it up for your own imagination to figure out, you know, what the ending's.
Oh, I got you.
And I was like, I'm not into that. I'm not into that for film, though. I mean, I need an answer. Like, I sat through the whole credits expecting something, like I was watching a Marvel film.
Is there a second book? Like, did you look that far into it?
No, I mean, I'm not a book reader, so I mean, even if there was, I wasn't going to read into it and kind of, you know, get my hopes up. So it's one of those things, like, I don't have high expectations for horror movies lately. There hasn't been anything good, you know. Midsummer was good last year, but that was, you know, more like a psychological thriller. But like a horror movie, there's not just a lot that's just in the last, you know, 10, like, ooh la la, you know, like that got me. Like The Grudges, you know, they're good. And, you know, all those other movies, they're good. But I mean, are they that great?
Yeah, nobody knows how to do a good horror movie anymore.
No. I mean, the thing is, they've all been done. Like, I saw there was a preview for, you know, the movie The Boy. They had like the doll, kind of like the male Annabelle. There's a sequel to that coming up. And I was like, really? The first one wasn't that awesome, but, you know, it is what it is.
They're going to put a sequel on anything that makes enough money to recoup its cost at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the whole Fast and Furious series. They like sequels. You know, that's a whole nother saga. I did catch a couple more movies. I got to catch the wonderful Guy Ritchie film, The Gentleman, which this movie was hyped up. You know, it's got Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam in it, and a bunch of other people, which Colin Farrell was probably one of my favorite roles in this whole movie. Like, I'm not a big Colin Farrell fan, but the way that he got to play this role as the coach in there was freaking good. Like, Kyle Collins from Experience Ground, like we talked about earlier, he's, you know, told me it's a great movie. Like, after the movie, I messaged him. I was like, dude, I feel like I want to watch this movie like 2 or 3 more times just to like get the full aspect for it, because it's a very good storyline type movie. But I mean, it is good. And I mean, it's all about plot, schemes, bribery, blackmail, and basically the whole thing is just trying to steal the marijuana empire out from under Matthew McConaughey. But dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, this movie is probably one of my favorite movies I've seen in probably the last like 50 films. And of course, that was a wonderful double feature day, and I decided to catch Gretel and Hansel, which is supposed to be a horror thriller movie. Dude, I wanted to pull up my phone and just read Facebook time. This movie, I mean, we know the whole Hansel and Gretel, you know, story as you growing up. You know, it's a fairy tale, but this is trying to be like the dark side of it. But dude, it was just, they should never made this film. That's the easiest way to say it. I mean, if it got like a 5.7 on IMDb, honestly, this should have been like in a 1 or a 2.
The previews for it looked freaking abominable.
Well, I mean, you know, you get the normal jump scares you get kind of like on the commercials and trailers these days. So, I mean, I thought it had like some kind of pizzazz to it, but I mean, it was everything you saw on the trailer was honestly more than you got to see on the screen, because it's just drawn. And then yesterday, you know, Saturday, we didn't have much to do. So, you know, I'll go catch the Doolittle movie with Robert Downey Jr., you know, what he's doing after the whole, you know, since Iron Man's dead. This movie was bad. I mean, if it wasn't for probably the whole English accents, you know, but we all know that Dr. Doolittle's, you know, just basically a physician that discovers he can talk to animals. It's the same storyline, but basically, you know, it was the Queen of England's sick. He has to go get some magical fruit to save her, and the movie was over with. It's definitely a kid's movie. I knew it was, but I thought there was going to be some kind of nostalgia, you know, feel for me, you know, with the whole pass.
And it's got a pretty big cast, too. Like, I know John Cena's in it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got Antonio Banderas is in it. I mean, there is so many people. Emma Thompson, you've got Rami Malek. You know, he's in the new James Bond movie coming out. You know, I mean, you've got Tom Holland in it, Craig Robinson, Ralph Fiennes, Selena Gomez. I mean, there's like you mentioned, there's a star-studded cast to it, but like, it was just not that great.
That's a shame. They probably spent way too much money on that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Robert Downey Jr.'s, you know, pocketbook, you know, has to be, you know, filled pretty good with anything you offer him these days.
Oh yeah, he's got that Marvel money. He don't give 2 fucks.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an empire, so I mean, it is what it basically went from Zodiac to Marvel to Doolittle.
There is talking about going back to some TV stuff. Masked Singer starts back tonight. I know that helps nobody because we're recording, and this
helps you and me.
Yeah, it won't drop till Tuesday. And then this stupid ass fucking Legos Masters commercial that they keep playing for the Super Bowl. Like,
I'm intrigued though.
yeah, I'm gonna watch it just to see what the fuck it's about because it's fucking Lego. And then Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the new season starts this Thursday, and then the second season, the Jim Carrey show that I talked about, the one where he basically plays like a fucked up version of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
that starts back next Sunday, so on the February 9th.
And now, what you came here for, the main topic.
are you ready to be a rap master? Because I'm a rap master. You a rap master, Micah? Because I'm ready to be a rap master.
Is that the rap you were talking about from the instruction manual?
Yeah, bro. We've heard my rapping in the past, and I don't think this is going to be anything like that. But, ToeJam Earl for the Sega Genesis, that's why you're here. We're covering these Game Informer magazines, and this is obviously the second issue of Game Informer magazine, and on the cover was ToeJam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. I mean, we picked, honestly, the last episode was, Sonic the Hedgehog, which was their introductory episode, but this is actually their first episode that actually has content in it. Like, other than we mentioned the first one, really just like, saying, hey, this is Game Informer magazine. We cover video games, for Funko Land, basically, and that's what you get. And here's a couple tips. Well, this time they actually cover the game, and we're here covering the game too. So I brought up the ToeJam and Earl manual because I actually owned this game for the Sega Genesis, and it's got a rap in it, which is it's cool as hell. So I'm just gonna start off with that. I mean, I'm not great. I'm a white dude. I have no rhythm, so here we go. Yo, I was hanging in my rocket ship with nowhere to go, so I was cruising, listening to the radio. Jetted to my homies, pulled up outside. Said, yo, Earl, how about a joyride? Earl came in, climbed into the backseat. We shot up to about 1,000,000 feet. Kicked back, turned on the cruise control, cranked up the megawatt stereo. We cruised by the planet, we took it low through the atmosphere. We took it low so the people down below could hear. Earl cranked the bass, we were thumping out a funky beat. I was low riding, chilling in the pilot seat. Don't be loot to the planet was quaking, on the ground where the booty's shaking. They were deaf and definitely not faking. They were getting down and we were breaking. So I pulled up into outer space, put the pedal down, picked up the pace to the speed of the funky sound. We hit the fast lane, passing all the others by. I grabbed the gear shift and shifted into overdrive. Earl and I were high-speed hip-hopping, giving no indications of ever stopping. We were deaf and definite, illy boys popping. To the rhythm our engine was pop-popping. Trucking, grooving to the funky beat. When Earl said he'd like a shot in the driver's seat. Well, Earl's cool, but he's not the most coordinated. But I was feeling fly, so I capulated. Earl took the wheel, but he was busting out to an Earl jam. I said, yo, Earl, get with the program. Earl looked up and said, yo, don't get annoyed. And that's when Big Rappin' Earl hit the asteroid. Earl and I, nose driving. I said, maybe it looks like for me to be driving. It was looking like I made a mistake. It would end up me as a ToeJam pancake. We hit the ground in a great big fireball. Guess we got lucky because I didn't get hurt at all. I said, yo, Earl, while we're here, let's check it out because being cool for me and Earl is what it's all about. Now, that's the ToeJam Earl rap. I mean, it's long, but I mean, it basically told you the story that ToeJam's driving. Earl hopped in that seat. They hit an asteroid, and oh shit, they're up in Earth now.
That rap was more enjoyable than the entire game.
You think so?
Spoilers.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. This game, you got to put yourself, when this game was obviously released in October of 1991 for the Sega Genesis, you got to look at it as, in 1991, you got to put yourself in that 1991 time machine and go back and understand, like, this was top-notch shit back then.
Yeah, the aesthetic for it is really cool. Like, it definitely screams, like, 90s Nick at Night, Nicktoons, like, whatever the hell that shit was called, like that era, like Ren and Stimpy type cartoony stuff. Like, it hits all that on the nose.
For sure, for sure. I mean, it's like, I mean, you've got these two hip hop aliens, Crash Land on Earth. I mean, the music's fucking wicked for this game, which is, cool. Like, even when the elevator, you get to change from level to level, it's fun. I mean, but basically it's a dungeon crawler where, you attempt to escape the planet by collecting, rocket ship's parts.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing at first. Like, I was really confused. I was just walking around like, okay, I'm walking around picking up presents.
So, I mean, I'm going to read this off of the Game Informer. I usually go off a whole, like a Wikipedia thing, but this is how they wrote this for them. And it says, what's up? Two of the funkiest aliens ever to planet Earth, ToeJam and Earl. Well, their visit really isn't accurate. It's more like they crashed into. Thanks to Earl's drive, and you see our dynamic duo just jamming along on a joyride through the Astro Belt, heating up in their Rapmaster spaceship when a meteor jumped in their path. At least that's the way that Big Earl tells it. Now that their transportation is in 10 different pieces scattered across the strangest of planets, these hip-hop-a-doos must comb through the land and search to get the parts so they can get together and split. Our friends from Funkatron just start getting into this place with its fast food and a little bit of cash. I mean, there's food and money all over these places, and obviously presents. We'll talk about in a minute. But that's where they meet up with the strange species known as Earthlings. ToeJam and Earl encounter everything from a gaggle of wayfaring geese to a mother and children team shopping until they drop. Along for the adventure, they round an opera singer, a demented dentist, the nerd herd, and hamsters in a rollerball. But not all members of this maniacal menagerie are like bad news. For a spot of cash, you can meet the wizard, which is dressed up like a carrot, that will basically, identify the presents for money. So if you got $2, he's going to tell you what your presents are. And then you've got the opera chick, which scares off other humans. So there's 3 guesses to her method, So, I mean, there's all kinds of things. But you've got some characters just a nuisance, like the hula babe.
Aloha.
If you just walk close to her, you're going to, hula around. Or, you got the stupid Cupid. He shoots arrows and, basically makes you go a different direction. And then you've got the boogeyman. Boogie, 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 boogie. Or the red devils, which can be a major bummer and wipe you out of your whole lifeline. Because if you get stuck by them, you're done. Especially like the boogeyman. He comes up, you can't even see him unless you got some tomatoes and, keep hitting them. So ToeJam and Earl have various modes of getting around. You've got special gifts such as spring shoes, rocket escapes, Icarus wings, and bonus high tops to help the boys boogie out of these bad situations. They may tiptoe past a sleeping foe, but if our heroes stay in the place too long, they'll be catching some Z's themselves, and it takes some frantic banging on the buttons to wake them up. There are 25 different levels of planet that must be explored. The spaceship pieces are located at random on a select 10. The changes each time you play. ToeJam and Earl begin the lowly rank of Wiener, and their goal is to progress into higher levels of opponents such as Doofus, Homie, and Rapmaster. Points are earned when tiles of the map return by opening up presents, or each player, basically you walk around. The more you walk around, the more you're going to level up. If you're just running through these stages, you're not going to level up as fast. But each player begins with 3 extra lives, which can be replenished by the Popper Munchies. Additional lives are rewarded when you reach the levels of Poindexter Bro and the supreme level of Funk Lord. All right, this out-of-the-world adventure can be played as either a 1 or 2 player game. As a single player, you can be ToeJam or Earl. Together, you can enjoy some nasty split-screen action and cover ground much faster. Besides, one has to be there to keep Big Earl out of trouble. He can't even keep his pants up. But, don't be surprised if the Bebop and Bros take a break just to bust a move or two, and don't be surprised if you find yourself joining them. The game is, like I said, it's a dungeon crawler. So, I mean, you're basically just going over these maps looking for spaceship pieces. And what's cool about these 25 different levels, sometimes you just go to a level, and when you get off the elevator, it's going to tell you if there's a spaceship part there or not. So you might end up on a level, and you just got to find the other elevator. But sometimes getting to that other elevator is not that easy.
Yeah, the combat is kind of, for me, it felt really wonky. Like, I did not like the combat at all.
Well, I mean, the good thing is like, obviously ToeJam is faster than Earl. I mean, he's got 3 feet. He's skinnier. Earl's just, the way I look at it is ToeJam is Flavor Flav. I mean, he's got the whole necklace. I mean, he's got the whole 90s vibe. So, I mean, ToeJam's Flavor Flav, and basically Earl is nothing but his hype man is the easiest way to say it. Me and my brother used to play this game a lot when I was a kid. Like I said, I had it on the Sega Genesis. And playing 2 player is cool because obviously when you get so far apart, it becomes a split screen. And you just have to, obviously find the elevator. But if one falls off, you got to get back to the level. So, I mean, there's cool aspects about this game because in all honesty, like if you felt like you fell off a level in any other game, that's going to be a game over, like a death. Well, depending on how far you go up, if you're like on level 7, if you fall off, you're going to go to level 6. But luckily, your map is still there. So all you do is open up your map, figure out where your elevator is, and go to it. But the biggest thing is you got to just avoid people the whole time. So you might end up having to waste some super high tops to run away from like the dentist or the boogeyman or a swarm of bees even.
Yeah, I can at least appreciate that it wasn't an insta death when you fell off the map. Like it was a drop down to the world you were just on.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really good because honestly, you might not know this, and some people might. If you go back to the beginning level, which is is that even level 1? I think it's level 0, where you're just like five or six presents, and you get the elevator. If you can get the Icarus wings or whatever and fly all the way to the left-hand side, there's like a little special area you can go to where you're chilling in a hot tub, and you can get an extra life that way. So, I mean, if the game gets rough, you can literally just keep jumping off, as long as you've got something to get across that whole body of land of water and go get that one up. But, it's a big risk also trying to get back up to whatever level you're at, the pieces for the spaceship. Now, I streamed this the other night, and I think I ended up with like 7 pieces before I ended up with a death. But there's obviously a cheat code for this game, and you can just, whatever it is, you type it in, and whatever the next level to, the last place of the ship will be there, just because I wanted to see the end screen as well.
Wait, you cheat? No way.
No, never. Me cheat on a video game? Not going to happen. But obviously, I mean, this game's got a lot of cool stuff to it. I mean, there's cool tips and tricks that were in this episode, this magazine. So, like, the Cupids, you can knock them out of the sky by touching them, but you're going to need like spring shoes or Icarus wings to do this, which is cool because honestly, I never knew how to kill these guys without, reading these tips. Like I know you can get the tomatoes and throw them at other characters, but they got to be, on the same plane as you. So the boogeyman, you can get the tomatoes and throw them at him and knock him out, it basically just goes pop.
I tell you one thing that annoyed the shit out of me was the fucking telephone. Like the ringing ass telephone.
Well, the telephone's good for you because if you find it, it'll uncover tiles for you within the game.
Yeah, but holy shit, like, I felt like damn Neo in the Matrix. Like, that motherfucker just rang and rang.
Now, this game, like I said, once you get to probably, I'd say like the 6th or 7th level is when it really starts picking up the heat and getting harder, which is, our traditional, pattern we're seeing with a lot of Sega Genesis games. They start off easy and they get harder. And I mean, honestly, this game doesn't need to be easy the whole way. I mean, you get, more traffic, like you get the nerd herd, which will run over you, it's crush you. And, they start showing up later. And then you've got episodes of the map that some people say it's quicksand, but it more looks like melted cheese to me. And, but it acts like quicksand, which, there can, be very slow.
Did you deal with Santa any? Did you run into him?
All right, so Santa, if you sneak up behind Santa Claus, he'll drop off presents. But if you see him and, he sees you real fast, you're just going to, fly off. But that's where all the presents come from within the map. He's the one that drops them off.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, there's, they're putting players in this game that, make you, like, the first time I ever saw the carrot, which is the wise man, I was scared of him, I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be another dude that knocks me up. But, basically, you just trade them $2, to uncover a present because sometimes you open up these presents, it can just be a complete bummer and just take you a whole life. Or you can unlock a, swarm of bees or a rain of tomatoes or whatever. Like, there's more bad presents than there are good presents in this.
Yeah, that was the thing that caught me off guard, honestly, was like not expecting it to be like bad presents. Like you're trained as a gamer that anything that you're going to pick up is always going to be good. And then you pick something up and it's not, and you're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, just like they trick you at the beginning. Like there's the mailbox where you can buy presents, but once later on in the game, the mailbox is actually like a decoy, and it'll like chase you kind of like the boogeyman, and it'll hurt you and knock you off screen even, or kill you if depending on how well your level is. Because I mean, there's even things about food. There's some food that will replenish your health, and there's some food here that'll actually like deplete your health. So I mean, the game is smart the way they did this. Like they didn't make it just friendly; they made it a challenge. It's almost got RPG-like aesthetics to it with the whole leveling up, but it's also got the whole dungeon crawling part where you're just having to explore, the whole map, to go from a wiener to a funk lord over time.
That's everybody's goal in life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody wants, what were you on, Major Payne? What did he start off everybody? At Maggots?
Yeah, at Maggots.
Yeah, so I mean that's basically how you're starting off at. But I mean there's good tips for this game. Like if you stay on the road when you see it on a map, you're obviously going to move much faster, but that's general knowledge. I mean grass you're going to walk slower, the road you're going to move faster. You can walk on the outer edges of these worlds and you can discover hidden corridors. They'll just kind of start popping up as you go. You can knock out, like I said, you can knock out the Cupids using the spring shoes, the Icarus wing. You can avoid the tornadoes by staying on the grass and doubling back around them just so they get close to you. You can dive into the water because, I mean, the thing is, like, if one of these tornadoes gets you up, there's a 99% chance that they're going to take you and drop you off screen. You're going to have to get back map again. But, I mean, for a 3-button game, this game's very fun. I mean, you've obviously got the A button, which is going to be whatever item that you use, that's going to be to activate it or to basically sneak. You got your B button that opens up your present inventory. Then you got C button, which is basically the map. Which the map is very crucial on this game. They're not big, but they're not small. But I mean, you've got to pay attention to where you're going because if you don't walk these outside corridors, you're not going to get to these unlocking these hidden corridors that are throughout the map to connect to where your elevator or even your spaceship part might be.
Yeah, because you're not, like you said, that was one of the hardest things for me is walking around and just not knowing where the hell I'm supposed to be going. Like, it took me a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure anybody's first play of this game. Like, that's why, I really push you to play this game because I was like, you got to understand the way this game plays before you can even talk about it. Like, you can watch a YouTube video and get the gist of it, but this is a true game. You got to understand, you got to play it to really just make, a whole understanding. Like, I'm going to go back and try to beat this game, but hands-on, trying to find all the parts because, to me, this game is actually kind of fun. I mean, it's a challenge more so because, like I said, I played it for 30 years easily, and I've never beaten this game only because it's a fun game. It's not like a game I was like, I'm going to go play it, from, bookend to bookend. It's just a fun game, to get around, spend some time on, hear some funky beats, and get some 90s, nostalgia in every while.
And it's not super long either. I think you told me, like, total completion, spoilers, I didn't finish it. But total completion time was only like 6 hours, I think, or something like that. And the speed runs on it are only, I think the one I looked at was like 25, 26 minutes. I mean,
that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really, you just got to worry, you get the high top shoes, because when you start this game, you can play either random levels or fixed levels. So, I mean, obviously the random is going to go through the 25 and just run over random order it goes to. And fixed level is going to go 1 through 25, but still, you don't know which levels are going to have these spaceship parts. So, I mean, it's the way you want to play it because you can play with ToeJam or you can play with Earl. ToeJam's faster, Earl's stronger. But Earl's slow also. So, I mean, it's a win-lose situation because the biggest thing is trying to get away from a lot of basically the people that you see in this because you can just barely walk faster than the hamster in a ball. You can barely walk faster than the bees, but sometimes you can't. Or, if the dentist tries to chase you, you got to get those shoes and hightail it out of there. So, I mean, there's positive and negatives for both players, which is a big thing about this game.
Yeah, and it was a GDQ run that I saw. The dude was using some kind of door warp, like.
Yeah, that's one of the presents you can get.
Yeah, see, I don't guess I ever got that.
When I get it, it literally just like puts me close. I don't know. I didn't understand the aspect of that whole door. So, I mean, there's probably more to it than even I understood.
No, and he was trying to explain it, but he was going so fast, I didn't understand what the hell he was talking about.
But, I mean, other than the basics, I mean, just crawling around and moving around, search for presents and spaceship parts. I mean, the thing is, you got to find the 10 parts for this. And once you get the 10 parts, you're on your way back to Funkatron. And other than that, that's the game itself. Is walking around these 25 levels to find your 10 spots, the parts that you need for the ship. Then you and Earl, or Earl and ToeJam, hightail it back to Funkatron. Basically they save the day, which is all this game entails too. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a time-taking game. And I mean, when this game came out in 91 for the Sega Genesis, I mean, it was a big risk they took, getting a game like this because these two almost are like icons, kind of like Sonic was, but didn't, last around. But I mean, it became, I gotta say, like a cult classic type of game because they just came out with a whole another one that came out last year for the Nintendo Switch even.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just relaunched it, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was almost like a Kickstarter that relaunched this whole series, because you had ToeJam Earl, then you had the sequel, which is Panic on Funkatron, which was basically not even the same thing. It was almost like a side-scrolling platformer. So, if you wanted the original ToeJam and Earl and got Panic on Funkatron, which is the next one, it sucked, They had a third one, and then they also had, which is the one that just came back out, which is Back in the Groove. So it's basically another co-op, and I think it plays a lot like the others, but I haven't got into it yet because I'm obviously on a huge backlog of games.
The third one looks like a super open world, like Mario 64 type game.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously gonna pick it up because I mean this game's fun, but like I remember they had ToeJam and Earl 3, which was Mission on Earth, and I think that came out on the Xbox. But past that, I mean, it was just different, you know, because I think it became like a complete action adventure game at that time.
Yeah.
But maybe that might be for another episode. We don't know because we're, like I said, we're on the OG ToeJam and Earl, which, like I said, it's an action game, but it's really a dungeon crawler. It was developed by Johnson Vorsanger Productions and published for the Sega and Sega Genesis console in October '91, and it centers on the 2. But I mean, that's it. I mean, there's not a lot to say about this game. I mean, it's surreal. It's comic satire.
It's a pretty straightforward game too. Like it's not a real in-depth I can't say that word. I'm too drunk. In-depth game. I had to enunciate.
It's full. That's cool.
Enunciate.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, they became, basically mascots alongside Sonic. So, I mean, when I think of, Sega Genesis, like Sonic's there, Altered Beast is there, and then ToeJam and Earl. Like, I mean, these are some like, the iconic, Sega Genesis, like, cartoonish that you can remember.
Do you want to go ahead and jump into the ratings and see how many people I piss off?
Oh, yeah. Oh, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, man. So there's my comment. My comment, I always say, I've learned on one thing on this. I always say, yeah, man. That's my favorite word is yeah, man. I don't say and, everything else is yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. If I was ever to edit this out, I'd spend more time editing yeah, man than anything else.
I'm always with the
It is what it is. So the way we do our ranking system is we do a shelf system. You are going to have your top tier game, which is going to go in your glass case. You're going to have your top shelf, middle shelf, bottom shelf, and I'm calling it the basket. The basket is the one on the side. That's where like you just put that just array of just like the stuff you really don't give a shit about, but you're not going to throw it out just yet. Those are those games go. They might go to a yard sale one day, but they're not in like your collection of just shit I want to keep. So Micah, if you're going to put ToeJam and Earl for the Sega Genesis in your collection, where are you putting this bad boy?
So we're calling it a basket. We're not putting it under the shelf anymore.
Well, I mean, the under the shelf is the same as, the basket. So, I mean, if you want to like punch a hole in your wall and just throw it in there, or, like dig it, tip the shelf over to the side and throw it underneath it where nobody ever finds it till you move out, that's there too.
Punch a hole in the drywall, drop it down in between the 2x4s, and then cover it up with the bookcase.
Yeah, covered up with a bookcase. So like they're like, oh, is this game haunted or what's really going on here? Or it's like, why is there 300 copies of Super Mario Brothers 2 in this dude's wall?
So yeah, it's a basket game for me. I don't know. I didn't get it. It was not my jam.
Is that a pun? Not your jam?
Not my toe jam. I don't know. I'm not a huge dungeon crawler person to begin with. I've never played any of the original Zeldas because of that fact. Like, I hate dungeon crawling games. And then when I got into this one and I was just I felt like I was wandering around with no idea what the hell to do, like to the point that I had to stop and watch a video to understand what I was supposed to be doing. And then I was like, oh, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. But there was just no rhyme or reason. And I know you talked about it just a little bit, like there's some kind of random aspect to it and like stuff is randomly generated everywhere. But I don't know. It was a very meh for me.
I mean, I understand that. I mean, and like I mentioned in the past, like I want us to play an RPG soon because like I remember playing them, once upon a time, but like the older I get, do I really have the patience for them because I want to run through things? Like, I played Final Fantasy VII when it came out and like I liked it then. I remember grinding through it, but like I'm also waiting for that re-release, to see if like, is this nostalgia true for me? But like that's also a series I'd love to play, one through whatever, just because like people, progress about how much they love the series and everything. But I don't know if I can get back in them. That's always my biggest thing. And it's even where I was talking about, I know you and me talked off to the side is they have an RPG Maker coming out, in a couple months. And I was like, that'd be cool, to start them up. But I was like, what I talked about is, do we have the time?
I don't. I don't for sure.
Yeah, you're like Call of Duty or RPG. Call of Duty, bro. I'm sorry. I had to almost put a knife to your, or a gun to your head and say, look, man, you got to put down Call of Duty for a couple, cover it for this.
Yeah, and I need to get back into Fallen Order too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know I know that's getting a little dry on you, but I mean, like I said, it picks up, a little bit past where you're at, so
we'll get there. What about you? Back to our ratings. What shelf are you going with?
Man, this is a middle shelf game for me, like I said, and I'm not holding the nostalgia factor for me. Like, I ultimately like the whole aesthetics for this game, and I like picking this game up and just playing it, left and right. And I think it'd probably be more fun for you even as a 2-player mode, possibly. But, I mean, when you're playing with somebody, I think it brings the whole, ooh and ah aesthetic to it. Like, this game is honestly, for me, it's a challenge for me, and it's something I always wanted to beat. So, I mean, it's on my bucket list on things to beat, and I promise you I'm going to beat it within this year.
I can see where this would be a good, like how our buddy Ben from Street Pizza Podcast is on that randomizer kick with Zelda. Like, I could see how this would be a good game for someone to run, randomizer mode, and get into and perfect to the point that they're just really, really good at it. But not me.
I've been watching. Yeah, we like to auto host. Ben over there at Street Pizza on our Twitch sometimes. So yeah, I do catch it from time.
Yeah, he's been on a Zelda randomizer kick. Something awful.
Yeah, something awful is right. But that's one of those games we were talking about we're not into yet. Legend of Zelda, which it's a cute, fun game, but it's where I want to be at.
I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping up unless you got anything else about ToeJam and Earl.
Man, not really that. I mean, I hate to say, now that I'm basically, a funk master, there's not too much to say else about it.
I will remain a doofus.
If you want to stay a doofus, I mean, at least you're not a wiener.
So if you made it this far into the episode, as always, we appreciate you listening. If you are,
or we're sorry.
Yeah, or we're sorry we just wasted the last hour and a half of your life, whichever comes first. The entire backlog for all of our other episodes, if you're new to our show, is available through our website. You can find that over at www.digitalcartridgepodcast.com. There are links on there. You can go on at the top of the page. You can go in and buy one of our lovely T-shirts that Sean has designed, or one of the hoodies that he has now that it's finally gotten cold. Those are on there as well. You can also link into our Patreon page if you enjoyed our show. If you want to see Sean and myself eat the Packy death chip thingy, that shit that we had to do. Those videos are on our Patreon. There's some backlog stuff on there as well. For as little as $1, you can get access to all that. We also have all the links to all the social media that we're on. Facebook, Twitter, Patreon. I said Patreon already. Instagram.
Yeah. YouTube.
Twitter. Did I say Twitter? I think I said Twitter, but Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I'm repeating. Did I mention I'm drunk?
Oh, yeah, I think we know that. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, you name it, we're there. We're basically anything that does anything except for Tumblr, we're there.
If you're on Facebook, we do have not only the Digital Cartridge Podcast page, where the Battlemania our episode post, all of our really good family friendly memes go up on. But we also have 2 groups on Facebook that you can join if you want to participate. We have the Digital Cartridge Underground. That is for all the dankest of memes.
Formerly known as Uncle Touchies. It was changed, by a couple requests by some people. There's like, man, I can't have this showing up on my timeline. Even when people looking on my shoulder, I was like, all right, I understand. We baited some people in. Now that we're in the groove, let's bring it back home.
Yeah, all those NSFW memes are in there. And then if you are a wrestling fan, I think as of right now, our No Mercy episode is one of the highest episodes, right?
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, I think it's in the top 5 right now.
So yeah, if you're one of those people, and you want to come in and chat and stay up to date on all the wrestling news and see what's going on in that world, we have a group called From the Top Rope on Facebook where you can come in and chat with us on there as well. We do this really cool thing where if you like us a whole lot, you can go on to the iTunes store and leave us a 5-star review, and Sean will drive to your house, put a blindfold on, reach around, and pinch your nipple.
I'm talking about your lower nipple in between your legs.
I mean, I wasn't going to go that far, but...
Oh, I mean, that's what you told me to do last time. I mean, so I've been going to all these people's houses doing this. That's fucked up, man.
It's
really fucked up.
That's why I keep leaving 5-star reviews under different credit cards. I'm just trying to get you to come back over.
That's why I ended up in that basement with some lotion, and this guy just kept telling me to put the lotion on the skin, or I got the hose again. Dude, I was soaking wet from that hose because I was not putting on anymore.
We always do an episode announcement on the page a couple days before, where we tell you what we're going to be covering if you didn't listen to the last episode, if you're one of those losers. And we usually include our phone number so you can call and leave us a voicemail if you have thoughts about the topic we're covering. That phone number, in case you want to call, is 470-344-4825. Or if it's easier, you can remember 470-DIGITAL. I forgot to ask you before we recorded if we had any voicemails.
Maybe. You gotta stick around to find out.
Oh, snap. We already told everybody what we're doing on the next episode, but do you want to remind them?
Yeah, I mean, if you literally just skipped it, some people, I don't know what you listen to, but if you listen to just, the last 10 minutes of the episode just to figure out what we're talking about next time and not listen to anything, I don't know. Or you're just forgetful. We're doing Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is a movie. It's basically Sean and Micah get to go to the movies, and like I said, we get a guest host. We showed a little teaser on who it is. It's going to be our buddy Bobby from Universe Retro, so that's going to be fun to have him in here. We like reaching out to a lot of our other friends, around, and, always asking them to get on the podcast. Like Mike has mentioned in the past, if you're interested, drop us a line. We'll definitely consider it. We like to branch out. We like to network with other communities, between podcast and some of our YouTube, shares, and, even like some of our pages that we share memes with. Even though, like we talk about, we share memes a lot, we do more than memes. I mean, we're kind of like, our own media platform. You just delete every other page in existence on, Facebook, and you just have just digital cartridge, and we're going to give you all the information, like from movie reviews to trailers to who died, or memes or controversial stuff, or random polls, it's all there.
All right. It's my bedtime. Let's go to fuck that. Let's go to bed.
I'm not going to bed with you, bro.
Psh, I'm taking away my 5-star review.
I'm out this bitch.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for the podcast and happy birthday, Sean. Later.
That's our buddy George. George, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was a good birthday. I mean, my birthdays are always the same. It just lets me know that I'm.
It wasn't a real birthday wish because you didn't sing, George.
Yeah, George. Next time you gotta sing. But I mean, I think it's funny that me and your wife share the same. So you'll never forget my.
I mean, I wasn't going to in the first place. Aww.
Oh, that's my boo, Micah.